Now, when I talk about getting sick, what most people think about nowadays is that we have so many drugs and everything else out there. You get a sore throat, you take this, and it takes away your sore throat. You're stuffed up, they give you decongestant. Well, what's happening nowadays is we're having a huge shift, as Eugene mentioned earlier, as going from reactive to this is what's going on. Let's try to prevent it. Let's try to do something ahead of time. Let's try to do it more natural. Let's try not to put all these chemicals. And if you notice now, there's different cleaners now that get the 7th generation line. Clorox is now jumping into the mix with their green line, just because people are realizing what we're doing just to save a buck really is not healthy for us. So what we see today nowadays is that there's a huge rise in chronic illness. Like I have here diabetes and autism. In diabetes, back in 1970, for children alone, there was 1 in about 2,500 children had diabetes. Now, the study from 1994 had 1 in every 400. So that was 94, that was 14 years ago. So you couldn't imagine what it could be. If you're going at that rate, it could be about 1 in 50 at this point. Now, have you ever also noticed that there's a huge rise in chronic childhood obesity in general in the American public? Things are having to change. People are starting to get fed up with what they're told by mainstream media. Say, hey, enough's enough. I have to start taking care of myself. Diets, we're always been fed, let's try to, fast foods become huge with what we have now. McDonald's is a mega giant in the world. Even with that movie that came out, Super Size Me. You can drive by the McDonald's right here up the street. There's still a line all the way around the parking lot out the door to get to McDonald's every morning for coffee and whatever else they want to put into your body that's not real food. So, and lifestyles, we don't sleep enough. We don't exercise enough. We don't eat the right foods. We don't try to take it easy enough. We don't take enough vacation time. We stress ourselves out and overload our bodies all day long, every day in, day out, because that's what we need and that's what we've become accustomed to. And medical practices, like I said, they will throw a drug at this, they'll throw a drug at that. Now you're getting drugs for restless leg syndrome, for you need to go to the bathroom, whatever it is, they're coming up. And I actually read a study today that shows that now that the American the American Academy of Pediatrics is recommending that children as young as the age of 8 should be put on cholesterol-lowering medicine. That's horrendous, if you think about it. To have a child at the age of 8 years old that's still not even fully developed in any way whatsoever, to be taking drugs to lower their cholesterol because they might have a chance that mom and dad are very large and overweight, so the fact that they think the child's going to go the same way, let's pump them full of drugs now. Things like this is happening because some of the larger companies they're not able to hold on as much as they were before because people are now starting to take care of themselves and realize and wake up that, yeah, just because someone's getting paid money to say this doesn't mean it's right. You can't believe everything in the media that you get nowadays. Now, is acute illness really bad? We're now actually, what happens with a lot of these medical practices is that we go ahead and we get sick, or your son or your child or yourself, you start to wake up in the morning, I'm a little stuffed. Oh, I got to take something right now because I can't get sick, I can't get sick, I can't get sick. We got to take it right now, we got to knock it out, we got to prevent it before it can actually happen. Why would you want to get sick if you can have to? Just pop a pill real quick. And what's happening now is also they're pushing the responsibility on you as the person or the patient, and it's getting shifted to the doctor, saying, oh, the doctor told me this and it was wrong, or this or that. Another side story, if anyone was following the news, how that lady who fell over and collapsed in the ER, in the waiting room. Mm-hmm. Horrible, sad story. Yes, she should have been helped before that, but the fact is that all those things that led up to that event was on her. I hate to say this, not to be a mean person, but yeah, she should have been helped at that point, but for her to be to that level, to just pass out and die, she's been doing things in her life that have set herself up to get to that point to where she had to walk into the ER because she hasn't been eating right. Lord knows what, because I don't know the whole case, but certain things, it's always we see what happens with the media and spins it and what happened at the very end. A 15-year-old dies from chickenpox. We don't look at the fact that his immunosuppressed lifestyle of how he's been pumped through 45 different shots of different things where he doesn't have an immune system, dies from a normal childhood illness because the fact is that he can't defend himself from it. So what we're going to go over today is a little bit of what actually happens in the immune system and how the actual immune system reacts when you have a virus or some kind of bacteria that gets into the body. Now what happens is your body has a certain amount of load, and you can take a certain amount of resilience, and your body normally works all the time. Now, let's say an invader comes in, normal cold, common cold comes in. This virus comes into the body, your body doesn't recognize it the first time. So now, normal medical approach is that, okay, I feel sick, let me start taking Robitussin, whatever, because I got a cough, I got this, I got that going on, the normal classic symptoms of a cold. Well, what happens is, the natural way that it's taught, even in anatomy class, the first day most doctors take it, is that the invader gets into the body starts to try to recognize it, starts to take that antigen and start to create natural antibodies to fight that, and through the white blood cells. And as it does that, it also makes on little markers into the immune system that actually go ahead and give the body a memory of what that is. So the first time you get sick, it might take 3 to 6 days or a week or two to get healthy again, but then the next time that comes around, that same exact strain comes through, your body knows what it is, now you're only sick for a day or two, or you might just get the sniffles and then you get a little bit healthier. But the way we treat it normally is, let's take drugs, let's do this, let's go pump Robitussin, let's go take Tylenol, let's go do this. And when you do that, what happens is you actually suppress the immune system. If you're already trying to pump all of this other stuff in to mask the symptoms, your body's actually has to work double over time, because the fact is that it needs to work to get the synthetic drugs out as well. They're designed to make you not feel the symptoms, which is great, so you can go about your day, but that's not really the healthy way to go about doing it. What we're trying to think now is that with this new perspective is that you have varying degrees of sickness and wellness that are happening all the time through the body. You right now are not showing symptoms of it, but the more you actually overload your system and go through it, and you're going every day and you're not sleeping enough, you're not exercising, you're stressing yourself out at work, your wife or your husband's just driving you nuts, the kids just won't stop, this and that. Your body gets into these states of stress, and then you're having to take all this energy and you're overusing your body and overtaxing the system. Well, eventually the system breaks down just like a car. You run a car at redline for 3 weeks straight, you're going to blow the engine. Same thing happens with your body. When that happens, you break down and start to become sick. Now, what happens is a lot of the stress problems that occur, they're going on all the time. You just don't know it. Sometimes you express the symptoms, sometimes you don't. But a good way to check that, we're going to talk about inflammation now. And the definition of inflammation is the body's response to injury or irritation that leads to symptoms of redness, pain, heat, swelling, loss of function. It's the body's attempt to remove harmful stimuli and try to heal. Inflammation is a good thing and a bad thing. If we all have heard is that there was an article in Time about 3 or 4 years ago that showed that inflammation is probably behind 85 to 90% of all known diseases to man. I don't know if anyone's read that article back then. Now, what that is that you get into a constant state of inflammation due to varying degrees of what you put into your body, food-wise, how you take care of yourself, trauma, like physical traumas that can happen to you where you're getting stressed out or you're sitting in positions for too long during the day where you're sitting there typing, and you get these things now called repetitive stress injuries from your forearms for carpal tunnel issues, low back problems because you sit in a chair that's wrong for you 10 to 12 hours a day. And all these things start to happen in your to try to go and naturally heal itself. Inflammation is a good thing, but when it's being used all the time, it turns into a bad thing. Inflammation is usually happening all the time. You just don't know it. You're varying degrees of it, and the more you try to take care of yourself, the less that it actually happens. And when you're not overloading the system, the inflammation tends to go away. Let's see here. Inflammation will manifest itself in various systems, like the nervous system, the endocrine system, digestive system, but it doesn't always, like I said, doesn't manifest the same way that it came out of the system. So sometimes you'll have inflammation that you don't realize that you're in these states of an inflammatory state because you might feel where you got stressed out at work, you didn't realize it, and then next thing you know you have digestive problems. You feel bloated, feel gassy, feel this, feel that. Well, those are the way your body expressing the fact that you're in an inflammatory state. Now, that being the case, your body's still trying to constantly work, but the more you overload the system, again, like I said, to reiterate, then it's going to keep breaking down. So when it comes out and shows out this way, it could come out in various ways in the nervous system. You feel irritable, you feel just aggravated sometimes, you're just, like I said, stressed out. Again, And the funny thing is, most people don't realize they're in these states of inflammation because it can take weeks, months, years to start to actually manifest what's happening in the body, to come out till you know it.